Hi you guys, my name is Cherita. Welcome to my channel. Alright, so I don't know, these videos will probably go up on the same day. But I'm on my way out of town. I have work this weekend, and it's a decent drive, so I'm just gonna talk to you guys whilst I'm driving. So this is gonna be this video is gonna be all over the place because this story is all over the place, starting with the name of it: surviving Sophia, surviving Sarah, surviving Samantha. I'm gonna go with Sophia. I'm pretty sure it's surviving Sophia. And this was trending on Twitter last night, and I thought, because you know how sometimes you can just click on a hashtag and you will be thoroughly informed, or at least a little bit of informed, to where you can be like, oh, okay, I kind of understand what's going on. No, that's not what happened. So I'm gonna try my best to break this down, because we need to talk. So I saw people just using this hashtag. I clicked on it, didn't quite understand what was going on. All I saw was like, oh, this girl scammed LA for like $11 million and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, how can one person scam, and by LA, I mean like LA folks, like rich people, $11 million. And how did she get away with it? Like, I'm confused. Well, first of all, that was a lie. She didn't scam anybody out of $11 million, but she did scam people out of like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So people started getting onto like what is it called? The Spaces, kind of like Clubhouse, but it's on Twitter. And the only reason that I know any of this is because people were recording the Spaces and then putting it up on YouTube. So I listened to this one space, and I was not expecting to hear Denzel Dion and Ricky Thomas. I was not expecting to hear their voices when I started listening, and I know their voices very well because I've been watching them since forever, since like the Vine days. I love me some Ricky, I love me some Dion. So, and I'm waiting for them to come out with their side of the story, like on the podcast or whatever, because listen. So, long story short, there is a girl by the name of Sophia, and basically, so she is legit like a pathological liar. And she was telling, now, I don't know the names of these people because I don't know these people and I don't care. But she became friends with somebody like in a famous circle, right? And then she told, like, okay, how do I explain this? So she became friends with somebody on like Twitter, and was like, oh yeah, I'm friends with so-and-so. So it made it seem like, we'll use the names, we'll use Joey and Stephanie. So Sophia became friends with Joey on Twitter or Instagram. And Joey's like, oh, how do I know you? And Sophia's like, oh, I'm friends with Stephanie. And Joey never went back and was like, oh, Stephanie, I met your friend Sophia. It was like one of those situations. So then Sophia like started inviting herself to go to all these social parties or whatever. Weird, right? And people are just trying to, now people are trying to figure out how they let this happen. But how do you just become friends with people like that over the internet? And be like, oh yeah, I know so-and-so, we're such good friends. And then you guys meet up together, and it's never like, oh, so how do you guys know each other? Oh, how long have y'all known each other? Like, it's super weird, y'all. It's weird and creepy. So another long story short, Sophia was basically using people to get into these popular parties. And she then made up, well, I'm not going to say that she wasn't assaulted. So trigger warning, assault, sexual assault. So she had put out this story that she was sexually assaulted by Jack Harlow. And not only was she assaulted by Jack Harlow, but she was assaulted by Jack Harlow in a room where Ricky Thompson was in. And Ricky Thompson is, number one, he was on these spaces and he's finding this out. And he's like, wait, what? And my whole thing is, why are people keeping this shit a secret? Because these people know Ricky. So why are they not going up to Ricky and being like, hey, just to let you know, this girl is like dragging her name through the mud? Because it's one thing to, it's one thing to be assaulted. Of course, we're going to blame that person. But if somebody is in the room while it happens and you don't say anything, like, we're very much like, see something, say something. And if Ricky was in the room and didn't say anything, his silence is complacency, right? And so people are just kikiing with Ricky still, thinking that he was in a room while a girl got assaulted. Wow, right? And Ricky is like, I ain't never met Jack Harlow a day in my life. So that story is not true. And so another person who was in the spaces, and I'm gonna link the spaces because the person who recorded it was like 6 parts. The first 2 or 3 parts are like 20, 30 minutes. And then the other parts that I had watched, like 4, 5, and 6, were like 8, 9, 10 minutes, something like that each. So all together, you're probably going to give up about an hour of your time, but it's really, really interesting to hear. So anywho, Denzel Dion then starts saying things like, yeah, I was always sketch about her, this, that, and the other. But it was another one of those things, because Denzel was like, yeah, like, I know her, but I just know her from seeing her at parties. They have each other's number, and that's really about it. But these people were I know y'all heard that rock. These people were like opening their homes to this girl, not knowing where she came from. It was like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, but come to find out, she was just some random girl who was just finessing her way through these social circles. Weird, right? So, anywho, there was a point where she was telling people that she was assaulted, right? So Jeff Wittick, is that his name? He's part of the vlog squad. He's part of the vlog squad with like David Dobrik and all them. And so this girl said something along the lines of, she was assaulted and she needed a place to stay, or she needed help or something. Why does man Jeff just hand over his credit card? Like, here you go. Not like, oh, what can I do to help? What website? What plane do I need to book? Like, none of that. Just willingly, like, mailed this girl or handed over his credit card. What? Like, I'm trying to figure out what kind of finesse does this girl have to where she's like, to where she knows she can get away with this kind of stuff. It's weird, y'all. I don't understand. And so, yeah, so Jeff was, I don't know how much money she took from Jeff or like any of that. And here's the thing, is she was telling people that she was Jeff's editor or something like that. I think that's what Denzel said that she had told him. Like, yeah, I'm Jeff's editor, but she was like sleeping with Jack Harlow. And like, I don't know, the whole situation is weird, but See, this is why you got to be up in people's business. Because, first of all, how do you get away with just being like, yeah, I'm Jeff's editor, and you don't bring that stuff up when you guys are all hanging out together? Y'all, it's giving weird. Don't take a shot every time I say weird, because alcohol poisoning. But yes, so that's pretty much that part of the story. So this girl is from Toronto. She came to LA and finessed her way into a social circle. And I mean, I'm talking, she was going to Vegas with these people. Ricky Thompson bought her a dress because I don't know what story she told him, but she lost her luggage or something and she needed a dress while they were in LA, so Ricky bought her a dress. She told Denzel something along the lines of, oh yeah, my company will reimburse us for the tickets to wherever they was going. It was a mess, y'all. I mean, this girl was getting into like the VMAs. She was getting into like all of these events, and nobody knows how. They're just like, yeah, she was just there. Like, they would walk up to a place together, and she'd be like, yeah, I should be on the list. Her name wouldn't be on the list, but her friends would get in, like Ricky and Denzel. I think this was like the VMAs they were talking about. And she went in, Ricky and Denzel were like, okay, well, you can't get in, but we can. And then they sat down, and then the next thing they know, homegirl was sitting next to them with an all access pass. How did she do it? How did she do it? And at this point in time, they still think she's somebody, and I use that term very, very lightly, somebody. They think she's in their circle when she is not at all. So that's pretty much the gist. And so people were coming into the spaces yesterday, and they were just basically sharing their stories. So if you want to hear the stories, by all means, listen to the stories. But there's another topic that became topic of conversation, another subject that became topic of conversation, and I think we need to have this conversation. So there was a girl, I think her name was like Colleen or Colette or Selena or something, and she was talking about how, oh, we need to stop slandering this girl because she's a human being. She was using people and lying and stealing. So what do you mean? And they're like, the girl was saying like, oh, you don't know what she's going through. There's no way you're using this. No. And her reasoning was, well, like, she's black and she's Somali and we don't know what kind of mental health she could be going through, so we need to not slander this, or this needs to not be brought onto Twitter, or blah blah blah. Now there's a couple things that we need to talk about. Just because somebody is mentally ill, which she may very well be, but that does not give somebody a pass to lie, cheat, and steal. And this girl in particular was giving her a pass because of her ethnicity, and it's like, baby, no, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that, because her race and ethnicity had nothing to do with her actions. And because a lot of us are mentally ill. A lot of us have depression and anxiety and PTSD, and a lot of, we suffer from a lot of these things. But that's not giving us reason to lie, cheat, and steal. I'm sorry. And why are we giving passes to certain people? I mean, I am very pro-black and very pro-women, but when women act dumb, when black people act dumb, they will get called out. And that one person, Sophia, she doesn't speak for Somalians as a whole. She doesn't speak for black women as a whole, right? So why was that even brought up? And in one of the spaces, you guys, so this girl, whatever her name is, Colleen, Colette, Citrine, I don't remember her name, when she went off on her little tangent and was like, basically, you know, we don't know what she's going through, this, that, and the other. Y'all, the way Denzel went off, I almost peed on myself. He was like, bitch, what are you talking about? He's like, you are not going to tell me, talking about Beyonce's internet and trying to preach this whole fake positivity bullshit just because she's Somali and she's black. He was like, no. She's out here stealing from people, you know, and taking people's hard-earned money and finessing people. He was like, and you want me to be okay with it? Because she's black or because she might have an mental illness? He was like, y'all bitches are dumb. And I am not, I'm sorry, I'm definitely not the person where I think men can just call women out of their names, but that shit was hilarious. And I will definitely leave that one down below too, because Denzel went smooth off, and he had every right to, because he's like, how are you going to sit here and basically take her side when she stole, you know, like she was out here using people, couch surfing. Now I'm not here to victim blame, because I think, you know, the people that she stole from, I think that was wrong, but no, it was not okay what she did. And we're not taking up for people just because we don't know what they've been through. That's just like people who were abused as children and then they grow up to abuse children. We're not going to feel bad for that person, or we're not going to overlook it just because, well, they were abused in the past. No, because at some point in your lifetime, especially in your adult lifetime, you're going to have to learn how to get over it. You're going to have to learn to work past all that. Like, make it make sense, because the way they were caping for that girl, and now she's nowhere to be found, and apparently, like, she doesn't have social media, and so I'm not gonna say any because nobody really knows, but she doesn't have social media, so people are probably out here making like fake accounts pretending to be her, saying, you know, that people are lying on her, this, that, and the other, but receipts don't lie. And I have a feeling that Denzel and Ricky are going to talk about it on their podcast, and honestly, I can't wait. But yeah, and there is a really long thread on Twitter. That's another thing that I'll link below. But like I said, long story short, this girl just finessed her way through a social circle. Like, she was going to parties like at Drake's house, and I'm confused on how people can do things like this. And I went to school with a girl who was a liar like that. Like this girl, her name was Sharon, and she would come to school and be like, yeah, sorry I was late to school, you guys, but I was in Florida this weekend. I was backstage with NSYNC at their concert. Wait, what? No, you weren't. And of course, people would ask, like, for her to prove it. And this was a long time ago. So no cell phones, no social media, like none of that stuff was a thing. None of that stuff existed. You know, we would take pictures with disposable cameras and we would wait like a week for them to get developed type situation. And so we would ask her and be like, so do you have pictures? Do you have this? Do you have that? And she'd be like, oh, yeah, they're getting developed. And then she would, like, come to school with pictures with, like, her finger over the camera and be like, oh, it wasn't a really good picture, but if you look really close, like, you can see my hair, and then, like, that blonde right there, that's Lance. And and then she would tell these stories of, like, she was in a girl group, and we were like, oh, what's the name of your group? Now, granted, this girl was at school Monday through Friday, and allegedly everything that she did was on the weekends only. You know, like, she would do whatever Saturday and Sunday and be back to school Monday. But anyway, she told us she was in a girl group. And we were like, oh, what's the name of the group? And she told us the name of the group. And this was back in the day when we had, like the Tiger Beat and Teen Beat magazine. And sometimes the pictures were printed on kind of like on newspaper paper. They weren't like the glossy, I guess just regular paper, I guess is what you want to call it. But they weren't printed like on the glossy paper. And so sometimes the pictures would be a little blurry or whatever. And she tried to convince us that she was this girl in this group. She was like, yeah, that's me. And we're like, no, that's not you. And she's like, yes, it is. That is me. Y'all, it was the most outrageous thing. I don't understand how anybody can just lie like that. Like, look you dead in your eyes and be like, yeah. And that's what this girl, Sophia, was doing to these influencers. And I think Ricky and Denzel have every right to be as upset as they are. Jeff, I'm not going to bring karma into this, but yeah. And it sucks because let's say she is lying about being sexually assaulted. You can't do that, because then it takes away from people who have actually been assaulted. So the whole story is so weird, you guys. Like, I can't even get into it based off of how crazy it is. But this is why, like, it seems like a lot of fakeness is going on. Like, imagine I go to LA, right? And I'm like, and you guys, and y'all don't know me from Adam. And I walk up to, I don't know, I get in line at some event, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Jackie Ina's hairstylist. And then, for whatever reason, I get in, I'm in the same space as Jackie, and you never see me doing her hair, and you're not going to question and be like, oh, so how long have you been doing Jackie's hair? Or how long have you known each other? Or, like, it's weird. What kind of friendships do y'all have to where you didn't know that she wasn't friends with anybody? Because I think it was, I forget what names I used, but I think it was Jeff and a girl named Maggie or something like that. But it was like Jeff thought Maggie and Sophia were friends, and Maggie thought Jeff and Sophia were friends. What kind of friendships are y'all having? I am highly confused. But yeah, so apparently, I don't know where Sophia is now. I'm sure this is like an ongoing story. This needs to be like a Netflix movie or series. Like, who's gonna take it? Issa Rae, I'm gonna need you to turn this into something, because you can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. It's insane. And it needs to be a movie. Remember the story that the girl told back in the day? Was it on Twitter or MySpace or some blog post about her, like, being a prostitute and, like, running off to Florida and, like, losing all her money and something like that. And then they turned it into a movie or a short series or something like that. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. So I feel like this needs to happen as well, but we need to hear it from a source, like we need to hear it from a couple of people. But I think Ricky and Denzel need a part in it, because first of all, they're hilarious and they're amazing storytellers. they just them and Issa Rae need to get together and turn this into something. You know what? As a matter of fact, hit me up. I'll help y'all too. So anyway, that's it. I know it was very rambly, but the whole situation is rambly. I don't know how else to put it. But let me know what you guys think of this story. I'll try my hardest to keep up with it. I know there's probably more, what are those things called? Spaces that I need to listen to. But yeah, that's the story of surviving Sophia, and then people trying to do all these think pieces when it wasn't really that serious. So anyway, let me know what you guys think, and until my next video, I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Give me up, I wanna. Gotta work, go berserk, I gotta. Know you gon' wake up. Know you gotta get your cake up. Don't matter if it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it's my time, my own.